There was 10 kids. Can you believe it?
No, not hardly. And you were...
My dad just was a drayman. He started out with gray horses, 2 gray horses. Boy and a girl, Charlie and Ribbon. I remember their names. And he just hauled like furniture for people, or he'd haul feed for people had to go to Sykeston 6 miles away. That's the way we made our living. And as we got old enough, started working. Grocery store. I know plenty about the grocery business. My first grade teacher gave me a job. Her name was Hazel Wallace, and her husband owned a store, and she gave me a job. In fact, I worked for him then until I was showing too much with Barbara, and I quit. Oh, I guess I could write a book.
Sure could. So you had 10 kids in the family. And
10 kids. All of our initials were H.H.
So you had...
Hallie. Now that's a boy. You know, a Hallie is a girl and a boy's name.
All right.
Well, my oldest brother was Hallie. Then my sister Helen. She died when she was only 19. She had tuberculosis. It was rampant in those days. They couldn't do anything about it. And then I'm the next one. And then my sister that lived in Chicago. Do you remember meeting her, Ward and Havetta? Ruth?
Yeah, Havetta, yeah.
Well, of course, they're both gone now. Let's see. Harold, he was the pharmacist in Denver. He went out there because to get work. There wasn't much in that little town. Then my brother Howard was a school teacher. They live in Peoria. Howard, and then Howard. Did I say Harold?
Yeah, you said...
Yeah, Howard. And then there was the twins, Harry and Harriet.
Yeah.
Boy, they knew how to make babies.
Sure did. So your dad worked as a drayman, and what did your mom do?
Took care of kids.
For all them kids.
She washed and ironed for people too,
Oh, really?
to make money. I learned to iron too, to help.
After your
Oh,
mom
we were
worked
poor,
for
Lisa.
kids.
We were poor.
What year were you born?
1916.
Oh, so you were just...
That's a long time ago.
You remember the Depression well.
Oh, I hope to tell you I remember the Depression. And at the time, we didn't have any place to make a garden even. Until then, when a house burned next door, somehow we managed to buy this lot. Of course, it didn't cost much in those days. And then Mom got to making garden and canning and so forth, so we had little better eats. I know what it is to go to bed hungry, Lisa.
How big was your house with 10 kids in it?
Wasn't very big.
How many
Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms. We stacked up. And in the summertime, I'd even take a blanket, and we had a screened-in front and back porch, and sleep out there because it was too doggone hot in the house. Then, years later, and of course we were all gone, we got a little one air condition for my mom and made things more comfortable for her. But see, my dad died, he was only 42. And the twins were only 2 years old. My mom worked hard and had her hands full. But in later years, Joe and I gave my mom a lot to help out with the others growing up. And she's crazy about him. Not because he gave it, it's just he was, He was nice to her. You know, sometimes some men aren't very nice to people, and he was. And boy, did she love to go out and eat. We always took her out to eat. Yeah, she loved it. Well, it don't hurt to be poor, I guess. If you can grow up and still laugh.
Now, what town was that you grew up in?
The town, Morehouse. Not too far away is Dexter. That's where Jane and Vic lived. And then there's Poplar Bluff. I don't know if you've heard of all these places. That's all in the area. Sykeston. Cape Girardeau. That's a college town. That's only around, I think, about 40 some odd miles from my home. Kids today don't know what it is to really do without, you know.
Not the kids in our family, at least. We've been pretty lucky.
Yeah, of course, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it didn't hurt us. Didn't hurt us a bit. I don't think. At least I can still laugh.
So in Morehouse during the Depression, did it change a lot since it was a real small town anyway?
Well,
and people were...
Of course, see, this is, you could go get food like they do today, but my mom wouldn't do it. She would not do it.
Oh, she didn't go to the bread line?
No, she didn't.
Huh.
She would not do it. Of course, the ones that did, they were too lazy to go work, even if they could get a job. We kids worked. We got a job, we went to work. We brought home the bacon. I did. Plenty. My money went for food.
So you could still find jobs?
Huh?
You could still find jobs?
Well, you can if you want to work.
Yeah. Odd jobs, and you were working in...
I worked for my first grade teacher. Her name was Hazel Wallace. She gave me a job at the grocery store, and I worked there. I even worked there when I was pregnant with Barbara until I got too big.
So were you still living at home when you were pregnant with Barbara?
Huh?
Were you still living with your mom when you were pregnant with Grandma Barbara?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, no, for a while I was with my husband's folks, see. Then...
They were in Morehouse too?
They lived in Morehouse. They lived one end of town, we lived at the other. His mom was a good person. She had a hard life. Everybody had a hard life then. Didn't have anything. And can you think of not having much and raising 10 kids and not a one of us ever got in any trouble? I mean, you know, you'd think someone would go haywire or something. But we never had any problems, thank goodness. Out of 10 kids, I said nobody ever went to jail. You could think of a lot of things, you know.
So you were all pretty close and took care of each other?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. My mom made sure the boys had their eyes on the girls, keeping their eyes on us girls. Oh, they did too. My brothers they'd sneak around, like if we'd go to church. If we even thought of a boy walking us home, we were in trouble. Because my brothers had their eyes on us. It was funny. Today it's funny.
Yeah. I bet it wasn't too funny then, though.
No. No. Can you imagine being afraid just to walk about 4 blocks to your house with a boy? Oh, no. My dad, oh. And at the time we had big old stove in the living room. You didn't have this central air heating. And I can just see him there twirling that poker like he's going to clobber somebody. It's so funny. I said I ought to write a book.
So
Well, I'm glad they did. I'm glad they were strict. Of course, you know, they didn't know anything else in those days. Some people could be a little more strict today, maybe, with their kids. But my sister that lived in Chicago, there's a family lived next door for a while, but they were drinking a lot, you know, and all. We never had any of that in our house growing up. Nothing. No booze of any kind. And my sister, somehow or another, they got her in the house and they gave her some, I don't know, whiskey or beer or something. And I'll never forget. We was looking for her. Well, see, they weren't good people. They'd have never done that. Should never have done that. And she come home. My mother really gave her a spanking. I had to pull her off of her. I thought she was going to kill her. No, but she just whipped her hard.
Which sister was this?
Huh?
Which sister was it?
Habetta, the one that lived in Chicago, McCain. She didn't know any better. These crazy people. You see, we were always known as the good height kids, H-I-G-H-T. And I think people just tried to get us in trouble. I'll tell you, they don't know my mom. Of course, you know, back then, I think kids got more spankings than they ever get today. Today, they could use a few, probably.
What were your parents' names?
Height, H-I-G-H-T.
What was the first names? Your mom and dad?
Joe Height was my dad, Joseph. My mother was Ethel Ann.
And what was her maiden name before she got married?
Grissom, G-R-I-S-H-A-M, Grissom. She came from El Dorado, Illinois.
Where was your dad from?
My dad, I think it was called Greenup, Illinois. Now, I don't know how they met.
They met somewhere over there?
Somewhere.
Moved to Morehouse? You always lived in Morehouse growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Barbara was born in my mom's old house in the living room. Let's see. Well, you don't know anything about the inside of that house, though. But anyway, I had a nurse. I had a doctor, Dr. Kendig. I had to go to Sykeston to see him. There's nobody in Morehouse. But then this Mrs. Flavy, I'm trying to remember her last name. This nurse was like a doctor. So she came to the house. And I had a doctor, Dr. Kendig came over from Sykeston. But I had my baby at my mom's house.
So you didn't have any painkillers, huh?
Oh no, you had it natural, I'll tell you. Plain natural. It hurt. I was screaming. My mom ran clear out to the back lot, way out, because I was hollering my head off. It hurt so bad. But I don't remember today how bad it hurt, but I know it did then. See, people don't know what it is to really have a baby the old natural way. She had a lot of black hair. She weighed 9 pounds.
She was a big one then.
Barbara was a big baby. Well, I guess through it all and everything, we didn't have any. Didn't get in any troubles.
I think you turned out all right.
Have you seen any of Barbara's little pictures when she was 2 or so? Well, she's got some somewhere.
Might have. I think she's.
You probably have seen them.
Yeah.
A job in a restaurant. There was nothing at home. New Madrid, that's where I went for. New Madrid, Missouri, where the fall is. You've heard tell, that's where I was. And I worked in a restaurant there a long time. There wasn't anything else to do much. But
Now, how did you end up in St. Louis working for the grocery store?
oh,
You just moved for a job?
I moved there because you could get a better job. So I worked for IGA, you've heard of them, and I worked for A&P. Both those. I worked for A&P the longest.
And then you decided you wanted to have your own business, so you opened
Well,
it up.
yeah, they offered to like sell me half cases of stuff, and in those days you could rent a place. It wasn't too. A couple had it, and they rented it to me reasonable because they were getting older. But it was a nice little store. Then I had a big planter out front, and everybody remarked about I planted zinnias, and they grow tall, and it was real pretty in front of my place. Right next door to me was a church, and I was open on Sunday. But they didn't care. They come in and shopped.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, my.
Now, did you live close by the deli?
Well, no, I had living quarters in the back.
Oh, you lived in
Yeah, I had them fix it up, and I had, Barbara and I, we had a bathroom and kitchen and a great big bedroom right there in the back of my store.
Boy.
Oh, I tell you, you do a lot of things if you have to, I guess. You see, and her dad never did give me a nickel for her care.
Yeah.
Of course, he got all close to her after she married and had babies, and other than that, he never saw her. His name was Thomas Trigg, T-R-I-G-G.
When were you, how old were you when you got married to him?
When I got married to Thomas, good Lord, I've even forgot how old I was.
You were like something like 17, 18?
Well, 18 or something like that, 19, 18 or 19.
No, you two weren't
18,
together
I
very
think.
long, were you?
Huh?
You two weren't together very long, were you? No?
Uh,
A couple years or something?
well, we had Barbara, but he cheated on me. See, that's why I walked out. I won't stand for that. How did Joe and I meet?
Yeah.
He worked for White Motor Company, same as my sister Janie, down in Dexter's, you know, Jane and Vic.
Yeah.
She knew him down there, and it was through them that she invited him Well, Janie was staying with me for a while, and I made dinner, and she wanted to bring Joe out to meet me. So it was through her that I met Joe. So I said, well, bring him on, and I made dinner, and then we started dating. So actually, she introduced us.
Yeah. How long ago was that? How many?
Well, we were married 41 years.
How long did you date before you got married?
Oh, about a year and a half.
You knew he was the right one?
And of course, I had my little delicatessen, you know, and I couldn't go. Wednesday, when I met him, I was open 7 days a week. You are in these delicatessens to make a living. And so I closed on every Wednesday. That was a slow day, and that's when I'd have a date. That's the only date I had each week with Joe.
Now, what would you guys do for a date?
Oh, we go to these fancy places, hotels where they had entertainment and
Like a little, like dinner and...
oh yeah, I had a nice dinner and they'd have entertainment, and he took me to nice places. One thing led to another, and we fell in love, I guess. He took me to meet his folks. His mom wasn't much on. You'd have to kind of get used to her. I think she wanted to hang on to her kids. But she was good. She was a good woman. And she told me many times, and Marie did too, how much they're glad that I married Joe. I said, oh, you finally decided to keep me, huh? They laughed. Well, we got along all right. He was good to me. Made a good living.
And did his job take you to Des Moines? He got transferred up there? Is that how you moved to Iowa?
Uh-huh.
Because of his job? Mm-hmm. How long did you live up there?
Oh, we lived in Des Moines. Oh, gosh, how long did we...
Long time, wasn't it?
Oh, let's see.
8 years or
Huh?
more? Was it something like 8 years?
Yes.
Maybe, I'm not...
I kind of forget myself how many years.
Well, you were living there when Grandma Barbara was having babies, though.
Yeah, because I'd come down, every time she'd have a baby, I'd come down to help her out. And then I would fly down when Monty had called me. And then when I was ready to come home, Joe would come and get me so he could see the babies.
There you go.
Well, he was working, you know, he had to work. We still had to work in those days. So, he was half crying the last call I had from him from when she's going to have a baby. You better get here. Well, she was having a lot of trouble then. They thought she's in deep trouble.
With Monty?
Big Monty called me. He said, I think your daughter's in trouble.
When she was going to have little Monty?
Uh-huh. So, but anyway, it all worked out. And your dad would always be the one to come and pick me up at the airport. Well, let's see. We moved here and moved into that apartment. You remember us going into that apartment? We stayed there until we found this house. We just rented it for 6 months. They let us while we looked. And this is where we landed.
Now, what finally convinced you to move to St. Louis from Des Moines?
Huh?
What finally convinced you to move to St. Louis from Des
Mm.
Just be closer to family?
Huh?
To be closer to your family?
Oh, yeah, that's why we came back. We always intended to come back. And see, his sister just lives in Ellsbury, and you know where that is.
Yeah.
That's only 40 minutes from my house to hers. No, and besides that, property was cheaper out here when we came back.
Yeah. St.
And I
Charles.
didn't want to be in St. Louis proper, particularly. So, and we'd gone to this church out here, Presbyterian, several times. And we liked it, and it's only 7 miles from me. The mall's only 7 miles. Anywhere you want to go almost to shop, it's 7 miles.
That's not a bad deal.
But I kind of like this house in a way. I like the upstairs, so when you have company, they can be up there. I can be down here working. You wonder how you did some things, but you know what? When you look back, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Now, your sister that died of tuberculosis, she was living in the house, wasn't she? She was living in your house, and then she went to a
Yes, but we had a screened-in back porch, big long porch, and to keep her away from the rest of us. In my bedroom, mine and Havetta's it had a window in it leading onto the porch. We could hear her if she wanted anything, but we had her out there because they'd tell you to keep them away because there's no cure at all for that in those days. So she slept on the back porch, out in the air. Oh, I tell you, those were the days.
How was it around the holidays with 10 kids? I guess you probably didn't have Christmas.
Oh, we didn't have much Christmas. Well, after, like when I went to work and the older ones went to work, then we were pretty good about seeing that the others got presents. Wasn't too bad considering you didn't have much. That's to call us older ones made sure the others got some presents. Yeah, it's kind of a hard life, but I wouldn't trade it. The knowledge.
Makes you a stronger person.
My parents were strict, really strict parents. But my dad, he never touched us as far as giving us a spanking. He left it up to Mom. We didn't get many. We knew better. We knew to behave.
So you went to, how far did you go in school in Morehouse? They have a little schoolhouse in Morehouse?
Oh, they called where we lived Little River and it Big River. In other words, we walked to school.
Okay.
I don't know, a couple of miles maybe. It didn't take long.
And all of you, I guess it was a pretty small schoolhouse?
No, it's a pretty big schoolhouse.
Oh,
And then they had another one. Oh, then they used the city hall for a junior high at one time. And then they finally built another school.
So you went up to what grade there?
Huh?
What grade did you go to while you were there?
Well, I had to go in at the city hall. That was 6th grade, and then I finished out in the big school.
And then you went to college later, right?
I went to, well, not a junior college. What did they call it?
You went to business college?
Huh? Yeah, business college. I did that on my own.
Did you go there right after you got out of school?
Mm-hmm.
And you had Barbara, though, right?
Yeah. But I just wanted to learn more.
What kind of
I'm
things did you learn there?
Well, see, I still have a business book at home that I studied when I went to this college, business college. I just didn't cost much in those days. In fact, you could just go almost if you wanted to. Uh,
But a lot of people didn't go to college, though, did they?
well, that was just a business college. If they went to college, they'd have to go to Cape. Cape Girardeau had a college. That's 40 miles from us.
Did a lot of your friends end up going to college after school?
Oh, a few did. Some married and had kids. Some didn't go.
You did both.
Well, I'm glad I did. It helped me later years when I had to work. When I went in a school, then when I worked in the store, and then they gave me the office job to do. See, I'd already learned, and I didn't take me long to. I had to check out all these registers that's in the stores. You know how you probably see them do it today when you go in the store. Well, I did all of that too, in A&P and IGA. I've had business experience. And the office, I learned a lot of it just working in stores, you know. Learned a lot. If you're willing to learn. Been out of the house for, I think it was 3 weeks. And then your mom came out, I don't know if you remember, and she stayed with Joe while Barbara and I went and got my hair done. And when we came back, did you know he passed away while I was gone? Just killed me. But your mom said, Hazel, that's the way he wanted it. Yeah. So I had my hair done for the funeral, I guess. He was a good guy. Great life, if you don't weaken.